Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Zip Talks. Our guest today is Mr. Yashish Dahiya, the co founder and group CEO at PolicyBazaar.com. In over 12 years, Yashish has grown Policy Bazaar to become a key influencer in consumer decisions around insurance. An avid sports person, he has worked in the past as MD at eBookers PLC and consultant at Bain and Company in their London office. Thank you so much for coming on this show, Yashish. Uh,
Thank you.
have have heard so much about your fitness. I don't know how many viewers and listeners here know about the fact that you've participated in over 10, 11 Ironman events. So wanted to ask you, how do you motivate yourself? Do you have any fitness goals? What is it that drives you towards your fitness?
So for the last 5, 6 years, I've always, maybe for the last 10 years, I've always had some fitness goals. But I started fairly young, and I've been sort of running since I was in school, or swimming since I was in school or college. But then it kind of kept building up. And I think it was when I was about 40 that I realized, because I always thought that sports and fitness was all about youth. And
Yes.
once you kind of got to 2025, then competitive sports was sort of out of the equation. Then you basically did everything for fitness, right? But I think when I was about 40, I realized that no, you could be in competitive sports still. And there are age group competitions and there are non-age group competitions that you can take part in, and you can actually do well at all levels if you do the right training. So that motivation came back. I would say about 5 years ago, it started becoming more serious than it was earlier. And that's helped me tremendously. And of course, I have goals all the time for, uh, for the next month, for the next quarter, for the next year. So
Yes.
we always have those. Yeah, that's what kind of keeps you kind of, moving in the right direction.
Yeah. No, but you're so right. I took to fitness after I turned 30, and then it just became a way of my life. And now, for me, it's like breathing air, looking at my fitness. So tell me, you have such a hectic work life. How do you manage to, say, when you're preparing for the Ironman, what is your routine like? How do you manage to find time to prepare for that?
Yeah. See, our office typically opens at around 10 o'clock. That's when people come into office. So if I
Okay.
want to interact with anybody at work, it'll happen about 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Right? Doesn't usually happen before that. Maybe once or twice a week, I might have some conversations starting 8 o'clock. But work conversations don't start before that.
Yes.
My day typically starts at about 4:35. So I have a very early start to the day. And I've always had that since I was in school. So I've always struggled with what to do in the first 3, 4 hours of the day. And, it doesn't take so long to prepare for the day. It takes you 10, 15 minutes to prepare for what you're going to do in the day.
Yes.
So you genuinely have a lot of time. A few hours are always there in the morning. And many a times what happens is I might have gone for a run, I might have gone for a swim, and I might come into office and I'm still the first person in office. So, and that happens very regularly. And I keep, sending those pictures to my friends sometimes that, I think we do start work at a fairly decent time so that everybody gets enough time to exercise. I think it's what you do with that morning time, right? So I think morning people usually don't have a problem
Yes.
finding time. But not everybody is a morning person. Like in my own family, we are four of us. Two of us are morning people, and two of us are not morning people. So the people who are not morning people, they always struggle because then you get towards the evening.
Yes. No, I'm also a morning person and I can absolutely relate to that. And so my workout is also done before 8 in the morning, actually. And then you have the whole day to yourself. But tell me, you said, when you run, do you run alone or one of the
Mostly,
four people?
see, it's a combination, right? Mostly, I run with either increasingly, I used to run alone, but increasingly with a friend or some family members.
Yes.
When I'm in Delhi, we have this group which is the New Delhi Roadrunners. So I'm usually running with them. Uh, when I'm in UK, then I'm running with family most of the time. So my son or my daughter will come with me. If it's a very fast run, then maybe my son, but otherwise my daughter will usually come with me.
Okay, that's a good companion to have. But talking about groups, I've heard you have a lot of fitness WhatsApp groups. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
I think there are quite a few that I have. So the first one that we started was this group about on our school. Uh, it's called Telemores right now, and this happened after we lost one of our classmates
Okay.
to essentially poor health.
Yeah.
And somebody said, look, we must have a group where somebody motivates us, and who better than Yashish to do it, because I've been a runner since I was in school. And so we all set up this group. This was about 6 7 years ago, and that group's been running strong. It's basically anybody can join it, but it's essentially people from St. Columbus who were there. And after that, I've got some, friends from the fitness group. This New Delhi Road Runners, there is one group. There is Delhi Triathletes is another group. So there are lots of groups, people with a similar passion who come together to sort of, encourage each other.
Yes.
Where they just post, I did this today or whatever else, and then other people also say so. We do have other activities like Strava. So there is a social activity around fitness. Definitely, there's a huge amount of social activity, and it's not just in-person meeting. It's I see a lot of my friends. I'm not very much on Instagram or Facebook, but I see a lot of my friends actually
Yes.
doing that as well.
Yes. No, I think just getting a group together and, like you said, motivate and encourage each other. They always say when you exercise in a group or when your friends are into fitness, how you also get into fitness, the people around you, it can motivate you in so many ways.
Yeah, right now, like if I was to really think about it, about at least half of the people I usually engage with in a day are in one way or the other related to fitness.
Yes.
At least half. Uh, so yeah, that's definitely becoming the case. More and more, your friends are becoming like yourselves.
So, what role do you think your focus on fitness has played in your work or in other social situations?
See, this is something I believed since very young, that we have a 40 50 year career. One of the reasons I took a while to kind of get my career going, while some of the people really took off in the first 10 years itself, is
Yes.
because I believe we all have my dad is 85 and he's still running his business. And he actually started his business after retiring from the army. My
Yes.
point is, we all have a very long career.
Yes.
And how that career shapes up, in everything, it feels good if things are moving up all the time, because it is not where you are, but where you are going to be, which is important to you. And if at any stage you think like you feel like you're peaking, it's actually a problem. It's generally a problem, because if your future is going to be worse than your past, then it's going to be a problem. And that is where fitness tends to play a very big role, because if your body doesn't support you at some level, and that will not happen. My kids joke that it won't happen at 18, it will happen at 40. Usually, if your body stops supporting you, then extending that last 40 years of your career, which is from 40 to 80, is going to be hard. And at that point, you would essentially be, spending money with doctors and trying to somehow stay okay. And you certainly won't have the ability to put in the effort that you were able to put in between 18 to 40, and that lead to a lot of unhappiness in your life. And I think uh, it's in a way out of that you do this. Plus, if you look around, if you look at people who genuinely, at least half of them are fairly fit. So the proportion of people, let me put it this way: statistically, fitter people have better careers. uh, and that is very clear if you just take the proportion of successful people and see what proportion of them are into fitness one way or the other. You will find a higher proportion. So there is clearly a linkage out there. People feel good, people have high energy, they impart high energy. uh, lots of positives.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and that's one of the reasons I started this Zip Talks, because you are like what you said. Most of the people who are successful in their careers, they have focused on their fitness. So there's definitely a linkage, and I'm so glad you said that. And the other thing you said about working on your health between 18 and 40. So we go in with a credit balance into the next 40 years of our life, which will help us, and you continue to then focus on fitness in any case if you've been into fitness before that.
Yeah, and
Um,
it can hurt very badly because I remember when I started working, I used like, I was a state level athlete. I was a swimming captain and all those kind of things. And I genuinely thought that, look, nothing can happen to my health.
yes,
And let me just focus on work for 3, 4 years to some extent. And, health is okay. Health is a given. And when I looked at myself 4 years later in the mirror, actually it happened at my sister's engagement because that's when they make videos and all that stuff.
yes,
And I saw this video and I said, who's this guy? Because I couldn't recognize myself because I was suddenly totally unfit. I was still running,
yes,
but because of a lack of fitness goals, because of a lack of fitness regime,
yes,
I was looking like somebody totally different. And I thought that had to be corrected, obviously.
yes,
So all I'm saying is, even if you're fit, within 4, 5 years, you can lose it if you don't stick to it.
yes. No, absolutely. But tell me, other than exercise, do you follow or believe in a diet of some sort?
See, I don't. I'm one of the contrarians in this, in the sense I believe what our grandparents ate was very good for us, and it's very unique. I hear all kinds of theories that paleo, keto, this, that, and the other, and I'm sure they work. I'm sure they work. I believe we know a lot more than science does, or let me say, culture knows a lot more than science does, and
Yes,
science is only discovering it. And yes, one day science will come back and say, yes, you were right. And we're seeing all sorts of stuff, right?
that's true.
They see ghee coming back, all kinds of stuff. So it all goes in loops. But broadly, what our grandparents ate was something which was formulated over thousands of years. And because their diets hadn't changed too much. Our parents, I'm not saying our parents, because our parents actually went through a cycle of urbanization where they ate what you would call urbanized food. But
Yes,
if I go back to what my grandparents ate, that was fairly, good stuff. And I largely eat that. Over time, yes, as we age, our requirements for carbs, etc., start to go down somewhat.
yes,
And you can fine tune your diet a little bit because of who you are compared to what your grandparents ate. And your grandparents may not always have had a great, uh, you know, fitness after say 60. You might want to have that. So yes, you can fine tune it a bit, but I think staying aligned to that is not bad. Yes, today I was reading a blog on an Australian guy who pretty much only eats meat, so he doesn't even know what carbs are,
yeah,
right? And he just eats meats and he eats berries. And he even said that, look, berries are used to kill some of these small animals. So he kind of goes to that extent. Now, my point is, he's an Australian Aboriginal. What works for him may not work for me,
right.
right? I am a Jat from Haryana who's who sometime 3,000, 4,000 years ago was somewhere in the somewhere near the Afghanistan Turkey border and have slowly
Yes,
migrated into that area. They're largely farmers. They have a different food habit. We are not largely, so you get it, right? So I think there's a difference between people, and one thing doesn't work for everyone, clearly. Like, for example, there's so many people I see who are lactose intolerant.
yes,
I have no problem with drinking milk, right? Now, I also meet people who say, you're not a baby, so why do you need to drink milk?
yeah,
I get it. But my point is, my grandparents had it, they had no problem, so I'll keep doing it. And it
yes,
works for me. It seems to be working for me.
yes. No, I'm going to send you one blog that I wrote in 2018 actually on clean eating obsession. This whole thing about all these various fad diets which are there. And like you said, it may work for some people, but I actually wrote about it because I just felt it's gone to a completely different level, and everything in moderation works for
Yeah.
people. Yes, yes. So, Yashish, tell me, you've achieved a lot of success in your career. So, what, according to you, I'm shifting from the fitness aspect. So, what, according to you, would be the top three secrets to success?
I'll mention the most important one last, because that is quite unique to us and Policy Bazaar. And I don't think we followed success. Uh, that kind of does lead to success. So the first one is, I think, passion and purpose. You have to have some purpose, some passion. Otherwise, you will eventually run out. So it's just like having an objective. But if that's a good objective, if that's got purpose, like we have this purpose of health insurance and life insurance for the middle class in India, that kind of keeps you going. I think the second is being empathetic. So if you're empathetic, I think you can align the interests of everybody, because you can see what's working for them and what's not working for them. And I think the third and the most important is being this is a controversial one, because I believe in this. I've never hired anybody whom I found selfish. I've always hired people who were able to demonstrate a lack of selfishness. And people have different things that they look at. But
Yes,
I look for that one trait, because if you're not willing to give up something for the benefit of others, even a little bit, then it's going to be difficult for everybody else, right? Because how does humanity work otherwise, right? And how does anything work? So I think Policy Bazaar as a company prides itself in that lack of individual selfishness. And I like to put it bluntly the way it is.
yes,
Most of the people there are able to not just be empathetic, but do something about that empathy and put others and the company interests somewhere ahead of their own interests at times, not all the time, but at times. And without that ability, it's difficult to last uh, at Policy Bazaar for longer than 2 3 years. I've seen that repeatedly. So and we are quite clear about that feedback. We give that very clearly, that look, you're being a bit too selfish or whatever. We give that very early. So we're quite specific about that. I think that really helps us with some sustainable work.
I really like that last point. You know, how many people think of putting their company's goals ahead of their personal goals, and if you find people like that, what a great team you must have been able to build, and it shows in the success of your company. But how many leaders actually articulate that? I mean, passion, purpose is really important. I like both your points on empathy and then putting the goals of the group and the company before your personal goals. How important is that? So tell me, Ashish, what personality trait of yours do you think has played a key role in your career?
I think it's the last one, yeah, that I mentioned. It's a very difficult one to go out there and say, because to some extent we all have to be selfish. We all have to do what's right for ourselves. But when it really comes to decision time, I have multiple times in my mind demonstrated the ability to put others ahead of me. And I'll share that with a few examples, so that, because everybody would love to say that, but it's very difficult for them to concretize that.
Yes,
Uh, one very simple thing I look at in all startups is founders' equity versus management equity. Policy Bazaar is one of the few companies out there, if not the only company, where
yes,
management equity is higher than founders' equity. Now you look at companies, you find 95% owned by founders and 5% owned by everybody else.
yes,
I don't know why those people even work for those founders. And everybody is saying, yes, I believe in team, team, team. But if you do believe in team, then kindly demonstrate it, right? I think I'll go back to the start of Policy Bazaar, and that was a very important time, because when we were starting out, uh, I obviously wanted to. I could see the purpose, I could see the passion, I could see everything, but the basic thing was my family was never going to move to India, and I had a job here. So it was stupid of me to leave that job and kind of move to India and not earn a salary for a few years. And I could clearly see the balance was lopsided, in the sense the management team would gain a lot out of this, and I would not gain a lot out of this, both personally and financially, because the risks of a startup are quite high. And I actually thought for a moment that I should not be doing it, because financially it did not make sense at that time, right? Today you can look back and say it made all financial sense, but you got to go
Yes.
back to that time. Imagine if you've got a job in the US with your whole family in the US, and somebody's saying, we'll do a startup where you're going to have part of the equity and everybody's going to have the rest. And, you're the only one who's going to move country and, everything else, right? You'd feel a bit stupid, right? And you're not going to have a salary for the first couple of years. So uh, it's kind of out of the blue. But what I thought was there are 20 people, there are 20 families, and there's one family. And yeah, I should have the ability to put 20 families. And I genuinely mean that. And I think Policy Bazaar, every part of its success is because of that one decision. Because that one decision told people that when it really matters, this guy has the ability of putting us ahead of him. And I think that's the biggest trait. Other than that, and that's the reason we have a fantastic team. So we have a fantastic team. They do a great job.
Yes. And what a strong trait that is. And you just get the loyalty from your team, because loyalty, I think, is one which you can't command it. You just earn it. You get it. And this
Oh
is a
yeah,
really.
no, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, you know, we had 18 founders, of whom 13 are still with us. Uh, you know, and many who left, none of the others talked to them. So it's almost like it's a cult in Policy Bazaar, where somebody who leaves is just like, okay, then don't talk to us. So, and there were comments like, is this a company or a kingdom? And those kind of comments. But the point is, it doesn't matter. It's got a very very fierce uh, loyalty group.
Yes, no, no, and what a story. What an amazing story. Before I move on to the rapid fire round, and we have a rapid fire round, I wanted to ask you what two tips, if you had to leave two tips with the viewers and listeners, what would they be?
Yeah, I think number one, enjoy what you do. Be passionate about it. Have the right purpose. Because if you don't, it will not lead to happiness. And that we don't know what all non-happiness does to our bodies. So eventually, be. Uh, the second thing is do take. Your body is all you have. So do take it a bit seriously. Don't mistreat it. Just for a bit of enjoyment, don't mistreat your body to an extent where it mistreats you in the end. So I think we all have one life, one body. So I think just take it. I think fitness is a great thing. You'll feel very good by following it. I haven't seen anybody ever feel bad. I always joke about this. Sometimes when somebody in my family is having a headache and we go out for a run, and they just come back and they comment, my headache's gone.
Yes,
And it's just a fact, right? You're supposed to be getting worse because you're exercising. Things are supposed to deteriorate, but actually it improves. So
yes. No, I always say exercise releases the happy hormones in your body. I mean, I used to
yeah,
read about all those endorphins, but it actually happens. You feel uplifted after a workout, whether it's a run, a swim, bicycling, whatever it is that you do.
anything at all, yeah. I have
Yeah,
never I have never met anybody who felt worse after a workout than before.
yes, yes, absolutely well said. Well said. Okay, are we ready for the rapid fire round?
Yeah, sure.
And so I'm going to say 5 words. When I say a word, please tell me what word comes in your mind. The
Hmm.
first word is exercise.
Happiness,
The second word is food.
hunger,
The third one is passion.
triathlons,
Okay, the fourth one is success.
um, enjoying,
The last one is family.
compromise, passion. You
Okay,
see, family is the only one that you have to listen to. We have 4 members in the family. 4 may want to do different things at the same time. So you have to compromise. You can't always do what you want to do.
Yes, very well said. Yashish, I really enjoyed interviewing you. So many takeaways. Exercise is important. Listen to your body. Don't mistreat it. And then everything that you said about passion, purpose, empathy, and that most important point you said, be selfless, and how it has led to your sterling success. Really, a lot of takeaways for me. And thank you so much. I hope the viewers and the listeners also found this as inspirational as I did. You can find this talk on the YouTube channel, Zip Talks, on podcast, on Spotify and Apple iTunes, Zip Talks, and on the Instagram page, Zip to Fitness. Thank you so much.